I'm starting the first outer wall here. I put two windows, one on this side, one on that side. I could have framed this wall and then put it up. I decided to put it up in pieces. One of the reasons for that is there's already an original frame, so I'm going to work within that. And this is not a supporting wall. It's not like we're going to be building a floor on top of this. There already exists a floor on top, so that doesn't have the same need for a frame or the strength of the frame. So I'm just going to, and there's already a board across the top, although that's not a 2x6. It is sealed well, so I decided not to rip it out and just work around it. I decided to use 2x6s for exterior wall, which I think is standard. Could have done without it because, again, this is not really a supporting wall. It's just, I'm just framing it out. But it is a better, stronger, thicker for insulation as well. Having thicker and having the room for insulation on the inside is even better. Wiring and whatnot, it's always good to have if you have the space. 2x6 for exterior wall, even for interior wall. Started with the framing of the windows. I decided to cut the 2x6s even flat and just put a second piece of wood across that sits alongside what was originally there. One of my concerns was that since stone has moisture, I didn't want this non-pressure treated wood to be against the stucco. These old pieces of wood that were there originally are used. This one on the left was used someplace else, but they got paint, exterior paint all over 3 of the sides. So I flipped it over so there's paint on the upper side, which is touching the stucco. That will block any moisture from hitting the wood. And it'll be a perfect support right underneath on the left side. Now, in order to get the windows in a even and uniform looking place, first thing I did was I measured the center. That's this beam right here. Then from the center, I had 2 sides, 2 even sides. So then I measured the windows and how much space they're gonna need. And then I measured from the center of the windows outward. And so I basically put a stud on either side of the window, and I'm framing the window into it. And it actually perfectly, even though it's only about a foot here and a foot here, since there's a 26-inch gap here, I did need to put a piece here. Maybe I could have gotten away without it, but figure for support, we'll just have the extra piece there. I did that in order to get a perfect spot for both sides. So my issue was I had a 4x6 here, and but the thickness, if I'm lying it down, isn't 5.5 inches, which is the thickness of the wall. So I put a 2x6 on the back, and I still had a gap of about 1/2 inch. And so I put this pegboard, I guess it's pegboard or some board. I cut off a couple layers just for the gap. I'm not really looking for strength, just wanted to fit. Under normal circumstances, piece of wood that fits in the center, cut it to fit, glue both sides, then screw it in from the top. I'm just putting it there to fill the gap. I don't care that much. Again, this wall is not a supporting wall. It's just there to create an outer wall. So I'm going to screw a bunch of screws in, maybe 2, 4, 6, or 8 to have one solid piece, and then we'll put it up in there. So here we have framed out the outer wall. This is not correct. This is a mistake. This is correct. Where you have the header on top of a beam as a support. This is not correct. This doesn't have a beam holding up the header. So that's just, you live and you learn. I realized my mistake after I cut the pieces. And if I was building construction in a way that I was going to build something on top, or there was some weight on top that I was concerned about, I would redo this in my case. And I may still redo it. Right now I've decided not to redo it again because this is already a firm standing structure. This is just a wall that we're putting up so that we can create an outer wall, so we can create a space on the inside. It's not really, it's a stand-in-place wall. It's almost like putting up a wall to separate two rooms. Typically, these are just the way that things are built, above a window and an outer wall. Here's like a sill, for example, and you have a supporting beam on either sides. And since this width is like 30-something inches, it fit pretty perfectly, about 16 inches center, on both sides. Okay, so that's that, and we're going to continue with the wall here. This is going to have a doorway that goes down those steps, and we have to make a wall on this side here and a wall over here to enclose this area. I think this is a bit extreme, but I did it anyway. Caulking around the outside of where the board is going to sit to seal any cracks. It is extreme, but it cost me a couple bucks. I figured I'd try it and see if I could better insulate the house. Why not? So here I got the outer pieces of plywood up. I'm supposed to put these about 3.5, 4 feet up. I think they're called fire blockers. So basically it's a piece of wood across these beams. It traps the air in case there's a fire. It traps the oxygen out, and it allows for either the fire to go out or to not expand as fast. Instead of cutting out the windows and the plywood in the beginning, I put the plywood up as it fit, and then I drilled holes. If you can see them, drilled holes along the border of the window, all along the sides. There's different holes. You can see the outline of the frame of the window. And then I took a Sawzall and I just cut along, right alongside the beam from hole. You can see here's a hole, here's a hole, hole to hole. I caulked in different areas, but put caulk on the inside just to give an extra stronger seal. And that's it. Next step after finishing with the wood is putting up the Tyvek wrap. My kids jumped on this, so it got torn. But anyway, we're going to be putting Tyvek wrap over. Tyvek wrap the whole thing, and then put the 2 windows in. So I got 1 window in over here. I didn't do the second window because there's not enough caulk. This took me 2 full days of work to put up. It wasn't just this wall, but it was also the lip around the side. See it over there. Made another video about that. It's a lot of work, when you're making it from scratch. This is one of the outer walls. It's a lot of work, especially when you're doing it yourself. One other consideration, I don't know if you could see, but this outer wall, because behind it I'm going to be putting on the outside stone and cement, mason mix. I decided to spend a few extra dollars per piece and to put pressure treated. Now, you don't have to do that, but again, most of construction is labor when when you paying for construction, often you might get, they might increase the price on something. And if I buy this wood, it's $50 a board, but if you pay someone who's going to have to pick it up, they're going to charge you $60 or $70 a board, right? It's most of it is labor, and then they're going to charge you for the work to put it together. But if you're doing it yourself, the difference between this board and the alternative, a non-pressure treated, is like $5. And because in my particular case, I'm going to be putting on siding that is very, it has moisture, because stone and cement, they tend to hold on to moisture, and also the stucco that's here already, it tends to have moisture. I want to make sure that what I'm building is going to last a long time. And for the extra, if I'm buying 10 boards, for the extra $50, it's worth it for me because I'm doing all the work myself.